if you bought trend, like this level is set in stone, right? Like this level is from this low of this candle to the next candle, right? Like it's low to low, right? You don't have to adapt it front and front and front. It's low to low. Or, you know, wherever that 5 minute, there's some 5 minute candle in here. I'm just probably pin it right in the middle somewhere. There's some, one of these is like the 5 minute candle, right? And then you have perfect entry there, and you're going to have perfect entry here. And so perfectly fine. You would just, you know, one set above anyway, 157. So now you're in this area again where you're taking profits is up to you. But the best entry is what we always focus on constantly. Um, Best entry gives you the opportunity to do this. If you don't take the right entry, you can't do this. You can't take profits on small scalp positions, because scalping is all about taking perfect entries and seeing how it reacts to trend and levels, right? Like inverse hold and break levels and trends, right? So this is always a thing we're going to be looking at. We're going to see how this can trend against our target here. And there's really no hold up. Like it's holding trend. So it held trend here, had a big move up. Held trend here, had a big move up. So this would be, I guess, a decent free roll to take right here again and see. So here's the thing about buying trend. It becomes perfect because look at like this. Say you say you want to buy trend. So trend in this moment here, like this. Okay, we'll just go back to here. Where are we? In this moment, you're failing down. Fine. You hit the top side of trend. Fine. You fail the break. Where do you start to move down and break your hold level? Like your hold level is going to be right here. So you can't break that 166. Right? Like this would not have been the hold level here. It would have been this little valley right here. It would have been your kind of local scalp hold level. We don't need that anymore. We don't really need that anymore. And we certainly don't need this anymore. That's already been tested. Rather, you would have your next valley. That's already been tested too. This has been tested. That's been tested. So really you have this, and then you have trend. So there's nothing in between here. So once this fails down, you have nothing to trend right there. So really you have to hold 166. So if we were to look at this thing into trend and say, like, where's our next buy? Right there, it falls down and fails. So really right now you could put your buy at 155, 156. 156 actually hits trend. So you actually have to buy 157 here. So then you could just set a buy for 157, right? And as time goes on, if it doesn't get hit, where are you at right now? Are you 158 now? Is 157 going to be a touch? No, 157 touch is like right there. So 156 is still hitting trend. So 157 would have been like the perfect buy, like literally the perfect buy. And this can free roll because as time goes on, you are only going to move up in price. This is, oh, no, please. This is what QKC is doing on a large time frame right now, right? Like it's holding its uptrend and it's moving up against its target, right? Like it hits down and it's going to move up. So the longer you are in this trade, the more profits you are making in a default scenario where if trend was to break right here, you'd be breaking at 161. You could sell at 160, and then it falls, which is fine. You can do that, right? Like, but you can't do that if you take entry over here. You can only do that if you take entry here. So scalping is always, again, about identifying perfect entry. Right? So let's move forward into this move. I don't know where we're at with this thing right now. That's current. Okay, so that's current in the move right now. Oh boy, trading view just, oh, there we go. Just broke and unbroke. So that's the thing about scalping, is like perfect entry is a must, right? So then you even have like this has to break, right? So this has to break right here. So even here, I would be looking at something like this very locally, very locally, to see if this can hold trend. It's not looking too good right now, but very locally. I wouldn't even use this really for anything, but just to put it on the chart to see, like, you know, an angle on the screen to see, like, okay, what is going to happen here? But this is not something I would use for any kind of decision making. It's way too local on a 1 minute chart here. Even this is probably the local right here. This is probably the local off the actual move itself, I would assume. Yeah, this is just like the local trend that needs to break off the bigger part of the move. These trends are like, you buy your hold levels and you buy your trends, right? And that's going to fuel the perfect entry, which a scalp starts. Like scalping goes into multiple tiers of things that we'll talk about. But the first thing you have to do with scalping is identify perfect entry based on a complete conclusion, right? And even again, we go back to seller and realize that we have just broken down this block in seller, right? Like this is just the block that we broke down in seller. All we did was break down this segment. This segment is just a small, we're in a 1 minute chart here. This might look like a lot, but we're in a 1 minute chart. That's a lot of TA, but that's a lot of TA for a 1 minute chart. But what did we attack, a 4-hour level? So that's what we diagnosed. We diagnosed 4 candles that are back attacking this, that are looking right now to create this as an origin level. So understanding that this is trying to create an origin level is another thing too. Like, this is going to be a breakout level for the future right now. So what's it going to take to hit that level again, right? Like, we are just diagnosing one small block. But again, to even understand scalping in this is to understand hold levels, break levels, trend origins, origin levels, because all it's doing is attacking this, right? So even to start to begin to scalp, you have to see the bigger piece of the move, right? Like, we're just, perfect entry is like the first and foremost focus of any trade, but really even scalping. Like, scalping especially has to be perfect entry because the margins are so small in it. If you're gonna long QKC, fine. Like, if you want to buy something while it's failing down here, like I bought QKC in this range here when I thought it was going to break trend right here, when it had these couple days of flatline action, and buy QKC, and then it didn't ignite and it pulled back down more, and I sold, and then I took a little scalp and pulled down my position. That's fine. You don't have to. That's very much a very different scenario. If you long QKC till it comes back up to this level right here, this 428 level, fine. You can take a 160 entry, and it's not a big deal if it goes down to 127 and you're a 160 entry and you're in it for a month and you just don't care because you're not managing the trade, but it's going to go up. But that's different, right? Like, that's not what we're looking at with scalping. Scalping is like the very first part of any trade. So scalping, every trade. Now, if you guys think of it this way, every single trade should start as a scalp. Whether you identify that to move it into a position trade, into a swing trade, into a position trade, is a different thing. But if you focus on the scalp, you focus on the perfect entry in that moment, right? Now, we look at QKC on the hourly, and you're not going to scalp chart something on the hourly. But if you were to go back here in QKC and say, oh, okay, it broke this valley, it needs to come back down and test this hold at 135. So if you want to identify this at 135, fine, then you can buy at 135, and there's scalps and position trades inside of that. So every trade should be interchangeable in this way. It should be that position trades are identified as position trades. Right now, QKC right now for me is a position trade. I have swing trades inside that. For example, I may swing trade the daily, right? I may sell this daily if this daily just flatlines at 172. I may sell the daily, wait for the small scalp pullback, and look for re-entry on a scalp time frame. Or I may just position trade it and let it sit. Or I may swing trade this, get out on the 172, and then re-identify the levels on a scalp time frame down on these time frames down here on these smaller time frames, right? That's the thing, is that scalps turn into swings, into position trades, and position trades have swings and scalps inside of them. So a position trade has swing trades in them, just like with QKC, it has a potential swing trade, and that swing trade will have a scalp trade, because if I identify this as a position trade and my end target is 300 sats or whatever, 250 or 370 or whatever I decide in the end that my final target is going to be, inside there's going to be swing shorts and then scalp longs and swing longs inside. So when you break it down in that light, no matter what you do, there is always, like, every trade should start on a scalp, because there's always a top and a bottom. Even if you were to, again, go to QKC. Oh, what the hell's happening here? Go to QKC and say, okay, I want to long this thing from 160. What's the best scalp in that moment? You just take 160 as a trade and just haphazardly enter? Or do you say, okay, 160 is still moving down. Where's the next scalp position? Is it the backside of trend? Where's a perfect entry? So scalping becomes the execution of perfect entry, but in every trade, it should start as perfect entry. So therefore, it should always start as a scalp, because you should always be looking for perfect entry to see if you found the bottom, right? So that's like the first block of scalping, is to identify perfect entry. Perfect entry is like a must in every trade, but every trade starts as a scalp. So kind of interchangeable, right? Probably the 15, maybe even. Obviously, the stronger the time frame, the better the hold, the better the chance it's going to get hit, right? Now we need magnet tool. Oh boy, there's no winning with this magnet tool. I swear to God. So like a 15-minute hold level is going to be hit instead of a 3-minute hold level. So that's something, if you go too deep in your time frames, you may not get filled, right? Because you would have said, oh, this is the level down here. You put it a little bit over, you didn't get hit. But Then if there's like an hourly hold level, like the strength of an hourly hold level, the strength of a 4 hour, the strength of a daily hold, as you go up in time frames, you're going up in strength, which is, more relative to being in a move, right?
Hey everyone, how's it going? As you know, I'm now giving out some of this content for free that I was otherwise charging for the past little while. Yeah, drop a donation, subscribe to the channel, join Patreon. You'll get access to Discord. Great way. Lots of top level traders in there, people who are doing this for a career every single day. So go to Patreon, join a tier, get access to Discord. Go on Reddit, talk about future of trading, talk about the science of trading, talk about cotton candy, socials, everything you can. Let's help this thing grow. It's the way you guys can thank me for giving out this content for free that I was otherwise charging money for. So I'll leave a Bitcoin address on the screen. I'll leave the Patreon address on the screen. Just do something to help out. Okay, thanks guys. Take care.